What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, I really want to chime in on this recent unfortunate event. There was a terrorist attack, for lack of a better phrase, an attack by extremists of this Islamic group in northern Burkina Faso on one of the government military outposts. And the reason why I want to bring it up, so the group that carried out the attack, it goes under the name of Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, or Janim. They are rampant within the Sahel. And of course, I always wonder who's really behind the funding of these groups and why are they so free to operate. I think a lot of outside forces are funding these groups to harass and steal resources of all of these countries that really haven't have a strong central government, and take those resources, similar to what RSF is doing in Darfur, JNM is doing in the Western Sahel region, finding ways through kidnapping or grabbing resources and selling those off into the market. Nevertheless, they're taking advantage of a dysfunctional nation. In this case, it's Burkina Faso. Less than 50% of the country is under central government control. And the reason why this story was really important to me is because when I turn on my feed and I'm getting updates and I'm looking at the latest news coming off the continent, I'm constantly seeing photo ops with the youngest president on the continent, the youngest leader on the continent, President Ibrahim Traore, the leader of Burkina Faso. And as I say, this gentleman looks great in a beret. He looks great in cabbage. Nobody can deny him this. But his military leadership is one thing I cannot deal with. Is false idols. It's false idols. And people prop this leader up as if he is the next best thing or the model of leadership for the African world. And you look at so many countries that are actually doing the work, actually putting foot to ass, boots to ground as far as getting things done. Ethiopia, what Prime Minister Minister Abe is doing, you can see he has a philosophical strategy of where he's taking his country. Zimbabwe, Kenya, Angola. It's so many countries. Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. It's so many countries in Africa that are trying to push the envelope forward, get things done, and develop their nations. And to see a country such as Burkina Faso constantly get this praise, or this leader get praised. And the reason why I don't like this is because I don't want this to be emulated. I much rather those other models which are actually rooted in reality, designed to improve the quality of life of their people, gets promoted. As opposed to you have a situation in Burkina Faso where the French were blamed for everything, right? And I think that's a bigger story. I do have a video out there about how Rwanda became British. I do think France did a horrible job with relationships with its colonies and outside powers such as the Anglos or the Russians or the Gulf states came in and they are ushering out France from these colonies. And this is why France was expelled from so many of its former colonies. But what I don't appreciate and what I think many people don't understand is why Burkina Faso was pushing France out the front door. They were welcoming Russia in the back door. And this is prevalent right now because the leadership is not providing solutions for its people. They're nationalizing. They're driving industry down. They're boosting salaries for government workers. This is not how you necessarily develop an economy. Just like an ant economy. If you think about an ant colony, right? Do you know there are soldier ants, and the soldier ants are incapable of feeding themselves? They have to be fed by the worker ants because of the the physical nature of the soldier ant. Its big head, its mandible claws. A soldier ant has to be fed by the worker ant. And it's the same thing that happens in the economy of a nation. The government is fed by the central economy. So if you see a country that is overly charitable or a country that have a very strong military or highly efficient military, chances are they have a great economy. That economy flourishes it. Look at a country like North Korea that has a bad economy, relatively speaking. Nobody ever says, despite having one of the largest armies on the planet, nobody ever say North Korean is the military model they want to follow. It's because they over-index to military, and then when you over-index to military, they don't get the quality on a per capita basis, and that's relevant. You can see that in Ukraine. You can see the North Korean performance in Ukraine. Nobody's championing this. Nobody is just striving for this type of model. So you need that economy. So for Burkina Faso, if they want any solution with dealing with these terrorists in the Sahel, they need a strong economy. So where's their leader at? He's wearing fatigues. He's not wearing, as I said, I know that I'm Western rooted, and of course I want to have a greater affinity for a leader that dresses like a businessman than a leader that dresses like a soldier. Because I know soldiers live off of the economy of the businessman. So when I see a leader that simply walks around in military academies, I say, do they really get it? Do they really get it? And that's the case. Every time you hear about Burkina Faso, it's either a story about nationalizing something in the economy or buying military weapons. Or something like this, where again, a terrorist attack by Islamic extremists. Where is President Traore's leadership as far as developing a regional framework to combat these shared extremist groups? The group Jenim is supposedly operating out of Mali. They're supposedly in Mali. So where is this troop, where is this coordinated effort between Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire to try to cut this group off? Or on a larger West African theme, talks with Algeria to try to build a greater infrastructure, or Mauritania. Like, where is this regional leadership at? And this is what I talk about, these false idols. Burkina Faso could be anything in the world they want. It's in West Africa. Of course, its landlocked is going to have its own challenges, but so is these extremist groups. They're operating in the Sahel. They're landlocked as well. How are they getting the opportunity? Who's ushering in these weapons? And how are they getting these weapons across state lines or border lines from different countries because they're landlocked to attack military outposts in Burkina Faso? This attack screams disrespect. If you're an extremist group, you try to run from the military of the country that you're harassing. You don't directly attack its post. This speaks to the weakness of the government of Burkina Faso. So for those out there promoting this type of government, for those out there promoting this type of leadership, you have no words for me. Because this shows you that it doesn't work. I constantly say, you want a leader that's out there making deals, pulling levers, building partnerships, creating jobs. And it is not coming from the government. The government just facilitates. I always say government to an economy is like oxygen to a fire. It merely facilitates it, right? You don't have no oxygen, you don't have no fire. If you don't have a government to facilitate, create a space for an economy to flourish, it won't flourish. So I do think government has a role, but that role is what? Lowering barriers, lowering tariffs, creating incentives for people to invest in your nation, build trade partnerships. Burkina Faso needs international relationships. France is a nuclear power. Not Russia is too, but France is right there, right next door. Western Europe, easy to trade with. Probably have a very close time zone. Definitely have a very close time zone. You can get on the phone. You can make trades. You can buy options in the same similar time zone. This is the relationship that a leader is supposed to create and allow for a country to flourish. This is how economic development happens. So it's unfortunate, and nothing but thoughts and prayers. Of course, I want the best for the people of Burkina Faso. But you see a situation like this, and I think as a person of middle age, for lack of better phrasing, but the older I get, the one thing I found that I have less patience for is rubbish, the BS. And you're not going to serve me piss and call it lemonade. And so for those people out there champion this Malema-like mentality that is operating within Burkina Faso, blaming France or white Europeans for all the problems of the country, it's lost upon me, because I know Probably the easiest solution for Burkina Faso, due to its language, due to historical ties, was probably to develop a better partnership with France to provide tropical goods to France. Now, would France have been a willing participant? Hey, maybe France needed to go. I'm not an advocate for France. I can care less. But what I would say, it was the easiest path to go. Now they're doing this whole revolutionary leader path, symbolic photo op path, but the people of Burkina Faso are still suffering. If you don't believe me, look at the casualty numbers of these terrorist attacks, of these extremist groups that continuously harass the people on the edges of the nation. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your comments. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.